buy and sell wood. My father said, because he spoke 11 languages, he spoke to me in 11 languages. I had trouble with English. He would say to me every day, "Why do you think I bought this business over here?" I said, "Besides being chased by the Nazis, Dad, was there a bigger reason than this?" The only wood I was interested in, and because I did so poorly in school, they told me I would never get there. They told me I would not achieve. My parents had an affectionate phrase for me growing up. They called me dummer Hund. For those of you who don't speak German, that means dumb dog. Very supportive people. Lovely, lovely people. I eventually got to Hollywood. I went to the Yale School of Drama. I called my parents. I said, "Hey, dummer Hund got into the Yale School of Drama." My mother said, and I can hear it like it was yesterday, she said, "Oh, this is very nice here. Tell your father." Lovely, lovely people. I went to New York. I did commercials. I did a movie called The Lords of Flatbush. I saved enough money to go to California for 1 month. And while I was there, I tried out for a brand new show. And I got the part. I only had 6 lines, but I got the part. Now, we're doing the very first show. I made a promise with myself, because every actor who ever did a part like this, they always combed their hair. They had big belt buckles, and they had their cigarettes in their sleeve. I promised that I would never do that. I would never comb my hair. It said in the script, in the very first script, "Go to the mirror and comb your hair." I said to the director, "I'm so sorry. I made a deal with myself. I can't comb my hair." And he said, "It says go comb your hair, go comb your hair." So I pulled out my comb. I walked up to that mirror, and I went, "Hey, I don't have to because it's perfect." So this changed my life. I got to play Arthur Fonzarelli. I went A for 10 years. And then I added one word. Whoa. Now you'll notice in the other picture, I'm not wearing leather because ABC wouldn't let me wear leather. So Gary Marshall, who invented the show, who is one of the geniuses I worked with, he went to ABC and he said, "You know, when the Fonz is riding his bike, if he's not in leather, he's going to hurt himself." So they went, "Okay, when he's with his bike, he can wear leather." Gary Marshall called the writer's room on Happy Days and said, "Never write another scene without his bike again." In 1980, Stacy and I delivered the jacket to the Smithsonian Institution. Dummer Hund brought his jacket to the Museum of America. Now, look who's behind it. The two short Germans. The Germans who did not want me to be an actor. Now all of a sudden my mother will walk into a store and go, "Yeah, this is very nice. I like this dress. I like this dress. I'm Fonzie's mother." My parents were lobbyists. They went down to Florida. They sat in the lobby of hotels going, "Where's the parents? He knows the phones." I've met people all over the world who said, "Hey, I've got your parents' autograph." But I didn't need them to be proud of me when I made it. I needed them to understand me when I couldn't figure anything out, when I was confused, when I didn't understand what was going on. I took geometry for 4 years, same course. Regular school, summer school, regular school, summer school, regular school, summer school, regular school. Now let me just tell you something. I was shamed by geometry. I couldn't figure geometry out. I had tutors. I passed it with a D- in the summer school of my senior year. That was 1963. From that day until today, not one person has ever said to me the word hypotenuse. What were they thinking? We've got to teach our children how they learn, not what we think they should learn.
Meanwhile, while Henry was becoming a famous actor, I was hanging out with two big feet. Big foots. Big feet. I produced a show. I pursued my career as a writer, and I became a writer for television, situation comedies. And I wrote and produced a show called Henry and Lin, and I got to work with the genius Rick Baker, who created these costumes. Those costumes were inhabited by two men who were 7'3". They weighed 35 pounds. They got to be 130 degrees inside, so they were air conditioned. They were made in Sweden, and each one of the hairs on their body was hand knotted by a Swedish annoyed person. And they also, the Henry and the Henderson's costume is also in the Smithsonian Museum. And Henry and I hope that on evenings when no one's around, my Harry is communing with his leather jacket.
Or Harry.
Or who knows what goes on in the Smithsonian. I continued to write television, and I especially have been always interested in writing for children. And I love children's books, so I would take very famous children's books and adapt them for television. I did Corduroy, my favorite children's book ever written, still. I like to see your copies. And I produced it for PBS. I took Louis Sacker's Wayside School, that was one of my favorite series, and I produced it for Nickelodeon. So I had really spent my whole career either writing books for children or writing television and film for children. And along the way, I created, along with my partner Stephen Mooser, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. Are there any members here? Yay! So, it began as a very humble enterprise on my kitchen table when I was 21 years old, and now there are 25,000 members all over the world. Basically, every author that you love, every illustrator that you love, every publisher is a member. And this is a picture taken on our 25th anniversary, and everyone in that picture is a world-famous children's book writer, from E.L. Konigsberg to Judy Blume to Jane Yolen to Paula Danziger. And it's been a great love of my life to be able to work with other people who create books for children. We're a very special breed. We call ourselves the Tribe, and we really love each other.
These are my dogs. Charlotte is a Labradoodle. A Labrador and a Poodle ran into each other. She wanted to wear her jewelry when I took the picture. This is Linus, a little Labrador. He was 6 months old when my wife found him in a parking structure. She was going to the movies with friends, and there he was. She put him in the car, and he came home. And all of a sudden, he grew into a Great Dane. Now, Linus likes to sleep in our bed, and he needs to touch you, and by touch you, I mean he sleeps on you, like a safety belt. You do not get up and pee in the middle of the night unless he says okay. And here's another fact about Linus. He's got the worst breath in America. Linus, please, I've got to go. Linus, I'm not joking. I woke up one morning, he had seared the eyebrows right off my face.
Never to be outdone, I have a dog too. He's a little puppy. He has lovely breath, I might add. I'm sorry to make you feel bad about your dog's breath.
Doesn't make me feel bad.
Okay. Dexter has breath like a little flower. And his hobby is to eat. So maybe you want to go to the next slide. We'll tell you this is a typical pose. Yeah, he'll eat anything. He loves peanut butter, Holden jelly. One of his favorite foods is tinfoil that maybe once had a hamburger in it. McDonald's wrapper. Oh, couldn't be happier. So, after we've talked about our lovely dogs, we're here really to talk about books. So Henry and I have created 2 book series together. And the first one is called Hank Zipser, World's Best Underachiever. And the second one is called Here's Hank. So this began, why don't you show us how it began? With fish. As every great literary story does, it begins with a fish.
I had a manager for 90 days. And at the end of the 90 days, his company imploded. But before it did, he said, "Why don't you write books for kids about your learning challenge?" And I said, "Because I have a learning challenge, because I thought I was stupid. Because everybody told me I was stupid and lazy and not living up to my potential. I can't write a book." I dismissed it out of hand. 2 months later, the man came and said to me, "Why don't you write books for children? I will introduce you to Lin Oliver. She knows everything about writing children's books." So we met for lunch, and the fish was horrible. But the meeting was great, and we hatched Hank Zipser. Hank, of course, short for Henry, and Zipser was a woman who lived on the 4th floor of my apartment building, Ella Zipser. And we thought it was such a zippy name because he is such a zippy guy. You know, his glass is half full, Hank. He just spills it everywhere. So we named it after Ella Zipser.
So the very first book of the series was called Niagara Falls or Does It? And it's the story of Hank Zipser. We meet him when he's in the 4th grade. He has dyslexia and other reading challenges. They're undiagnosed, and all he knows is he tries and tries and tries, and he can never satisfy his parents, his teachers. He feels like a failure. He's smart, he's funny, he's resourceful, he's popular, he's a good dancer. He has everything that you would need to be a happy human being, but he's miserable because he can't succeed in school. So we wrote this story with great comedy, and it immediately found a home in the hearts of America. The book sold 4 million copies.
So this is what I've learned. I've learned that no matter how you learn, no matter how difficult school might be, it has nothing to do with how brilliant you are. It has nothing to do. What I know about every young person and every other person in this room is that you are all powerful, that you have greatness inside you. And your job is to figure out what your gift is. And it doesn't matter what that gift is. It's just you have to decide what your gift is. You dig it out and you give it to the world as a gift. There is not one adult in this room, one adult in your house, in your school, in your city, in your state, that cannot wait to see who you become.
So Hank Zipser became so successful that it became a television show in England on the BBC. The reason it's not a television show here in America was that when we went to the networks to suggest the show, they said, "We love your books, we think they're hilarious. Could we just do one little change?" And we said, "Sure, what's that?" They said, "Could we just make Hank a little less dyslexic?" We're not sure America is ready for a hero with learning challenges. They are in England. It's the #1 show, and it's for children. So after we wrote those books, there are 17 of them, we started to get letters from kids, from younger kids saying, "Well, what's it like when you're in the 1st grade or the 2nd grade or the 3rd grade? Most kids with learning challenges aren't really diagnosed until a little bit later in their career." So we decided to create Here's Hank, which are chapter books for beginning readers, 1st graders, 2nd graders, 3rd graders, about Hank before he was diagnosed. There are 6 books in the series so far, and we're here to introduce you tonight to the 7th book in the series, which is called You Can't Drink a Meatball Through a Straw. Any kids ever tried that? Very, very, very difficult. So, one of the important things about the Here's Hank books is that they're profusely illustrated so that they're fun for kids to read and look through. And they're published in a typeface, in a font called Dyslexic. These are the first books in America ever to use this font. And it was created by a dad in Holland who himself is dyslexic, who has 2 dyslexic kids. So he designed a typeface that makes it easy for your eyes if you have a reading challenge. You'll notice, here I'll use my
Pointer.
finger. Notice my manicure, it's very long. You'll see that the lettering in between the letters is nice and wide. You'll see that the letters are kind of weighted more heavily on the bottom so they don't float up and float around the page. You'll notice that the H's go a little bit higher and the G's go a little bit lower because a lot of kids with learning challenges confuse the upward and the downward strokes. So it's designed to be easy for kids to read. What we found is not only the kids with reading challenges love to type, but all the kids do. It's hard when you're 7 years old to read. So this is like a little, Henry, I think, likes to say, what does he like to say again?
I like to say that I wish I had this when I was growing up, because I did not read a book until I was 31, because I was so intimidated by the type. But what I always say is that it makes your eye and the page friendly.
That's what he was. That was what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. Now this, let me just tell you, so you know, this is Hank's cousin from Chicago. Her name is Ruth Ann.
Judith.
Yes, right. Her name is I just wanted to see
If I was paying attention. I passed the test.
So Judith Ann is a chef. She is a junior chef, and she has come to New York to enter a competition. If she wins, she gets on television.
So her recipe is for meatless meatballs. And as Hank says to her, how is it a meatball if there's no meat? She says, oh, it's made with eggplant. So Henry and I take our writing very seriously. We like to research everything we do. So we tried to concoct meatless meatballs. As you can see, it wasn't entirely successful, but they didn't really matter. He thought they were perfect. So we thought we would give you a little peek into how we write. This is how we begin. The shrieks of terror, looking at the blank computer screen.
I drive across LA from my house to Lin's office. We have written all of our 32 novels in Lin's office. I stop and I get some coffee for Lin. She has vanilla in hers.
Henry takes a little while to settle down. So we put him in a chair, we surround him with some toys, he does a little card shuffling, he does a little Zen meditation. And after a while, he's settled enough, his mind is settled enough to be able to focus on the task at hand. I sit down at the computer, and you can't see where he is, but he's on the other side of the desk.
And I sit in a rocking chair for as long as I can. Now, Lin has promised me for months to get a more comfortable cushion, because it really is tough on my toes.
Very, very
So I walk around and I start talking, and Lin types. Then Lin has an idea, I wait. Lin types. Then Lin reads me what she has written, and then we argue over every word. While Lin is typing, I have for 10 years tried to fit my foot inside the wooden planks. You will notice my foot does not fit in the planks of her floor, but I try. I am determined. Sideways, I try to slip it in, it doesn't work. It was my Zen garden that Lin provided me with, so while she's typing, I rake. And then she reads me everything that she has written, and we argue over every word. When we're finished arguing, Lin always says, I have driven her to drink.
When you're very, very stressed, I highly recommend a diet peach snapple. Makes the brain waves go.
The amazing thing to me is, and it happens every single time, I arrive at Lin's office and the screen is blank. I arrive at Lin's office, we finish writing, and there are papers that are printed, 8, 6, 5 pages that had nothing on it, and now all of a sudden there's a chapter or 2, and it just blows my mind. And I had no idea what we were going to talk about that day, what we were going to write that day. And at the end of the day, there are these pages filled with our imagination. Now, I love to go fly fishing. I did not think I could fly fish because I thought that it was too hard for me to learn the technique. And then I learned it, and my wife and I go, and we really love catching trout and then putting them back. I sign an autographed picture and send them back. There are pictures of the fawns under rivers all over Montana. And then I thought I couldn't take a picture. I've never turned a knob on a camera. I thought an F-stop was a train station on the subway in New York. But then my imagination said, you know what, you can just point your camera and shoot. And my youngest son said, hey Dad, you've taken a pretty good picture. And I thought, what a great compliment.
After we finish a book, we give ourselves a little present. Henry goes trout fishing, he'll go shooting photographs. I like to put on my bikini and go to warm climates, as you can see. This was a particularly thoughtful trip to Norway. And I thought it was a little too revealing, so then I pulled the collar up and then I was really comfortable. So what are our books about? Our books have underlying principles. We don't set out to write message books. Our books we regard as entertainment. They're not self-help books, but we have certain underlying values that we'd like to convey. The first is the value of laughter. When we write, we make each other laugh. If we're not laughing, it doesn't go in the book, because we believe that the gateway to enjoying humor, or to enjoying reading for kids, is to go in through the humorous doors. So that's what we do. Our books always involve friendship and the quality of empathy. It's very important to us to demonstrate what it is to be a friend, a true friend who loves you no matter what. And that involves empathy, the ability to put yourself into the place of another person, or in this case, life. And the third thing that we always write about is that everyone is unique. So many kids who have learning challenges feel that they're different and that different is bad. And what we try and explain to kids through our writing and through examples is that everybody, it's like Rosanna Banana used to say, it's always something, right? Everybody has something that makes them feel bad about themselves, particularly kids. You're too short, you're too tall, you have acne, you wear glasses, you can't shoot a basketball, you're bad at art. It doesn't matter what it is. What you need to focus on is what you're good at, what makes you unique, and that's your entry into life. Believing in yourself, that you love your differences rather than criticize yourself.
The greatest compliment that we get from children all over the world is they write letters and they say, I laughed so hard, my funny bone fell out of my body. And then they said, how do you know me so well? Because we don't write down to children, we write the truth. So emotionally, I relive what it was like to be 8 or 9. What it was like to know my words the day before. I was so proud that I studied my spelling words, and then I got to my class, and they must have fallen out of my head because I don't remember one of them when the chips were down, when I had to take a spelling. But here it is. Remember this. You are not defined by school. You are great. You have greatness. And if you know what you want, and you know it without ambivalence, and you put one foot in front of the other, there is no reason that you cannot live your dream the way I live mine, the way Lin lives hers. Just before we're going to sign your books, if you haven't gotten a book, there are books in the hallway, the lobby, in the foyer, and you can, and do not feel that you only have to buy one. Don't feel restricted at all. But we would love to take your questions. If you have a question, it will be a pleasure to answer. Yes, would you stand up? What is your name?
My name is Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you for coming tonight. I work for the library, so it's very appreciated. And I'm also thanking you on behalf of my son. I heard you on NPR several years ago and loved it. Challenge reader, and he loved your books.
Thank
I went
you.
back out the
Thank
front. Can you tell us how you coat coping mechanisms or how you got your scripts read? Did someone read
Okay,
for you? Can you
so
talk about that?
we're doing Happy Days, and we meet around a table Monday morning, 9 o'clock. The director, the producers, the writers, the actors, everybody sits around, and I cannot read off the page. And so I read and I stumble, and I am shamed and I feel horrible. But I covered my shame and humiliation with humor. And the fact of the matter is, you never get over your learning challenge. You learn to negotiate it. You learn to make it work for you. I would audition for a commercial, and I would read as much as I could on the script, and then I would memorize it as fast as I could, and I would go in and I would pretend that I knew it, and then I would forget it, and I would improvise it. And the director said, "Excuse me, you're not reading what is written on the page." And I said, "That's because I'm giving you the essence of the character. If I get it, I'll do it verbatim." There is always your way of getting something done. There is not one way. There is your way.
Sir.
Sir, yes. What is your stand up?
Okay.
What is your name?
My name's Lee Harrison, and I'm bipolar.
Hi.
And I wanted to let you know I went through the same thing you did when I was a kid. Both of you, who were your inspirations and your heroes, and how today do you deal with when you meet people that went through what you did when you were a kid, other than this, relate to?
Right.
Well, I'm the mother of 3 sons, and one of them has ADD. The other 2 have never been diagnosed with having anything. But school was hard for all 3 of them, because I think that school, traditional schools, really ask you to do something as a child that's very hard. To sit still, to follow directions, to follow multiple directions, to sit still some more, to take a 20-minute break and then come back and guess what? Sit still. So I got very frequent calls from the principal of the school. As a matter of fact, the principal of my son's high school said the chair across from my desk bears the shape of Theo's butt. So one of the things that inspires me is to see people with struggles and to see how they rise to the occasion. That's first. And then to see the people who surround them, who support them and understand them. It's all of our jobs, whether you have a particular struggle or not. You're bipolar, Henry's dyslexic, I've been chubby all my life. We all have a thing. Yeah, very funny. We all have something that we have to cope with. But if you surround yourself with supportive people, people who understand you and love you and have empathy for you, can feel what it's like to be in your shoes, then your life becomes much easier. And so the people who inspire me are both the ones with the issues and the ones who surround them. That was a long speech.
No, it wasn't. It was a good answer. Should I read a little bit of Here's Hank?
Yes.
Okay, so we know that his cousin, Judith Ann,
Yes?
has come from Chicago, and she is preparing her meatballs. Okay, so it is the day of the contest, and one of the contestants has gotten ill, so there is an empty stove with no contestant. Chef Smiley, who Hank calls Chef Smelly, because he can't read the tag, says, "I cannot have an empty stove. You, sir, will be our contestant." Use me? Use me for what? Well, I heard you say earlier that in the kitchen you're the main guy. Well, you heard correctly. That is true. Excellent. You will take station number 6. The cook-off is receiving great attention because our grand prize is so special. Really? What do you win? What do you win if you win? Well, the grand prize is a television appearance on the Country Cooking for the City show, explained Judith Ann, who had been listening to the whole conversation. But you don't have to concern yourself with that, Henry, because I'm going to win, and you have no food. I've never been on television before. Oh my goodness, can you imagine? I'll have my own television show. All I have to do is flash a little zipser attitude, and boom, I'll have my own show. I couldn't resist it. "I'm your guy," I said to Miss Smiley. You can call me Mr. Station Number 6. Henry, Judith Ann said, you cannot cook, and, as I said before, you have no food. Don't worry, young man, Miss Smiley said. There is already food at the station. It's really quite simple. It's artichoke stuffed with crab legs and capers. No problem, I said. Okay, truth time. I have no idea what an artichoke was. I never heard the word capers. And as for crab legs, I hope they didn't pinch me. Are you ready to participate, Miss Smiley asked. You bet, I said with a big smile. You bet. Okay, that's what my face and my mouth said. But my whole other body said, oh, and started screaming. Hank, no! What did you get yourself into? 3 ways I can get myself out of this mess. 1, I could put on big floppy clown shoes and do a crazy clown dance. Wait a minute, I forgot my clown shoes at home. Wait a minute, I don't have clown shoes. I never did. 2, I could run outside, I could get a taxi, and I could ask the driver to take me to the North Pole. Wait a minute, I don't have any money. Wait a minute, I've got a nickel that is stuck to a gummy bear at the bottom of my backpack. 3, I could run over to my mom, throw on my jacket, grab my lunch bag, and run for it. Wait a minute, did you hear what I just said? My lunch bag. I've got a banana, a cookie, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and chocolate milk. Yes, my lunch bag. That's the answer. I just don't know how it's going to be. So we're going to go in this room. You're going to buy multiple books. We're going to sign. These are great Easter gifts, birthday gifts, graduation gifts.
Passover gifts.
Passover gifts. When somebody steals the Afikoman, you can give them a book.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you all so much for coming. So, as you've learned tonight, you all have greatness within you. However, to get in the signing line in your hot little hand, you need a red ticket. I will be calling those numbers shortly because we're going to go get them set up in their overflow room. So, meeting room is where we're going to be